TIL 2 If people have a gene for stink-free armpits, don't require deodorant. Isn't pit stank about bacteria? Either their sweat glands prevent that from forming, or actually reads article. Researchers still aren't sure how the gene affects both earwax and sweat odor, but they believe it has to do with amino acid production. Rapidly growing bacteria give sweat its smelliness, and people with the rare gene variant appear to produce less of an amino acid that engenders bacteria growth. Interesting. I wonder how many people use deodorant never realizing they didn't need it. That's me, never worn deodorant, even in my teens. Makes me itchy but realized I have no need for it. I sweat very little as well. I definitely do sweat, but it gives off no odor and the amount of sweat is significantly less than I've noticed in others. My armpits could be wet with sweat on 95-degree August day and it wouldn't smell like anything, maybe a little bit salty if you smelled them real close like nose to armpit low, but I never knew why. Unless this is bullshit, I guess now I know why. Wow, I wonder if I have this gene. I rarely use deodorant and, before you comment you probably stink, my wife would have told me years ago, but always chalked it up to the fact that I don't sweat very much at all, even when working out. But the flaky earwax thing that makes me think I'm in the two. I've been told by my doc that I have seborrheic dermatitis, basically, dandruff in my ears because he saw a bunch of flakes in there. But I guess that actually might just be my earwax. I have this. The same gene also affects my earwax, making it dry instead of sticky. People always assume I'm a stinky liar whenever I say this online, but I genuinely don't sweat or smell out of my armpits. However, I sweat like crazy out of my back and forehead. What's weird is this gene is apparently rare and almost always found amongst Asians. I'm not even Asian, I'm white Latino mix. Meaning I got really fucking lucky and I have zero clue where this gene came from. I haven't worn deodorant in over a decade, and it's probably been 15 since I wore it regularly. People are stunned when I tell them this, because they will attest that I really do not stink. No, I'm not nose blind to my own BO. No, my friends and family aren't keeping quiet to save my feelings. My pits don't stink. But when I take off my work boots, holy sweet flying fuck! That's where all the stink goes. This explains what I've had for my entire life but never understood it or even knew I had it. I don't really smell at all and it's been like that my entire life. I remember being in middle school and being confused why everyone was putting on deodorant or antiperspirant after gym class. Like, I do smell ever so slightly when I sweat, but you would need to be an inch away from my skin to smell it. My spouse has this gene. It's crazy that my spouse's sweaty socks still smell like laundry detergent and sweaty pits smell like nothing, but my spouse is like an odor sponge and will smell like whatever is nearby. Walked through a fish market and now smells like fish, sat near a lit candle and smells like lemongrass and eucalyptus, used a match and now smells like sulfur, etc. Two of mothers in the UK in 1991. The 1991 census was the first UK census to have a question on ethnic group. For in the 1991 UK census, 94.65% of people reported themselves as being white British, white Irish or white other, with 5.35% of people reporting themselves as coming from other minority groups. I wonder what the of East Asians that is. I legitimately had this until I was about 25. I don't know how or why it changed. I didn't really sweat at all. And the minimal amount I did sweat, if it was super hot, never ever had an odor. Never ever wore deodorant. After 25 I started sweating. It still has a minimal smell thankfully, but I definitely sweat now and it does have a small odor. I stopped wearing deodorant years ago. I wash my pits pretty fierce every day when I shower though. I'm very sensitive about being the stinky person and my wife assures me every time I ask that I do not stink. It's nice not having to wear deodorant. I hope I am not just another stinky person to everyone else. For the confused people with the gene can still smell bad, diet, not clean, etc. It doesn't magically make you smell perfect all the time, it just makes it so you specifically don't ever smell like BO, which is nice. Also, not all Asians have it, it's just more common in certain countries. I would love to see a study done that checks the ability of someone to generate armpit stench to how many pheromones they can generate. Wouldn't it be hilarious if the key indicator to determining an average family size was the ability of the parents to generate armpit stench? Oh, that's fun, I'm a part of the two. My wife hates that I don't need deodorant on a daily basis. Only after a brutal workout or a long day in the sun, so I begin to smell. Before people say my wife has just gotten used to my smell, it's not just her who can confirm I don't stink. I have dated 3 people, one of them my current partner, who is Asian, who don't have to wear deodorant. Not sure about their wax. We never talked about it. But all three of them female also go commando. I cannot. The seam inside of pants cuts me like piano wire. South Korean male, only wore deodorant for a week in middle school to fit in. Have not worn it since. My body does not create any odor even after a full day or working time in the gym. It's an absolute blessing, and I've saved so much money on not buying sprays or sticks. I think I may have a touch of this. I tend not to wear deodorant as it fucks up my underarm skin and makes it all red and itchy, even roll-ons, and I don't ever really smell bad. I tend to shower once or twice a day though, so maybe it's just more cleanliness than genetics. I'm one of those people. I wore deodorant for like a year in my teens, because our gym coach told us we had to. I'm 40 these days, haven't worn pit stick in 20 years. Even my time in the military, no need. It drives my wife nuts. Now these feet, though, flushed face. I'm Canadian of UK and French descent, almost 50 years old, and this is me. I've never needed to use deodorant. It doesn't mean that I don't have body odor, but I never get that pungent armpit smell, ever. It's something I've appreciated my whole life. That's me, never had body odor. Pretty sweaty too. Wife pointed it out that she never noticed me put deodorant on and I never smelt bad. Sometimes I can get a bit yeasty smelling down there if I don't shower for a few days. Weirdly enough, I also don't produce armpit odor, but it only stopped smelling like anything after I started hormone replacement therapy. Does this mean I have a recessive version of this gene, or is this something else entirely? This is the first I've heard of it, but I must have that gene. My pits don't stink, and I don't need use deodorant. I'm an American white guy with predominantly Scandinavian heritage, some German, and a little bit of Cherokee. This is my ex, only washed himself with water, no body wash or soap. Didn't use deodorant and his armpits literally smelled like apricots. I found it so sexy that I used to smell his armpits, haha. We're both Australian BTW. You can definitely impact the smell by having a healthier diet. I remember going on an absolutely zero processed food diet for a few months and I'd sweat, but I wouldn't smell nearly as bad as when eating processed food. I'm actually one of these people. I've never ever used stick deodorant and only use cologne on a rare occasion. People always give me a look when I tell them that, but then they smell me and say, "Oh, that's weird." I think that might be me. I get stinky occasionally, but I don't wear deodorant and I don't think I smell, nor has anyone ever said anything. I'm kinda old, so you'd think someone would by now if it was an issue. The weird thing about our bodies is that armpit odor is a feature, not a bug. There is a gland called the axilla that feeds the bacteria that makes our armpits stinky. Why? Don't think anyone actually knows. I've found to have less odor since I stopped using deodorant. The only time I might smell a bit is if I've been doing lots of exercise or weather is extremely hot and makes me sweat. My husband is the same. Incoming average Redditors claiming they are part of the 2% when in reality they just don't work out or do anything to break a sweat. Skull, you're not unique and you smell. Put on the damn deodorant. I'm one of the unscented few. To be honest, I was a late bloomer, didn't have armpit hair until I was like 15 and never used deodorant. I've always assumed the deodorant was the cause. Today I learned. Can someone explain the reasoning behind this? Because I'm inclined to believe this claim is bullshit. No, considering the fact that the smell comes from bacteria, completely unrelated to our bodies. I used to be part of the two. A few years ago I had to undergo radiation treatment, and since then I've had to use deodorant every day or I can stand the smell of myself. The human body is so weird. Don't most East Asian people have this gene? I've heard it cited as the reason deodorant is hard to find in China, and there's a common belief that Westerners have bad hygiene they just cover up. I call BS. The reason for the stink is bacteria growth. So, you're telling me that some British mothers have armpits that persistently kill all bacteria? Explain that to me. I don't buy it. Yeah, I'm one of those people. I'm also about 10 years older than I look, with a conspicuous lack of body hair. Overall, it was a deal I hated when I was younger, but it's awesome in my 30s. The study only involved British mothers. The headline should read, 2 of British people have a gene for stink-free armpits. I think the number is much higher in certain parts of Asia. Bert was on the upper end of the stank scale, and Bert was too tight to waste money on deodorant. I'll never forget the hot summer day Bert helped me remodel his small bathroom. Never. Properly regulated gene therapy could bring this amazing ability to all of us someday in the future if we don't outright ban research into human gene manipulation like we did cloning. My dad has this. We have been in the US for as far back as anyone knows. 23andMe shows we are heavy British, so it checks out. I definitely did not get this though, not even close. Euro descent here, I have this gene. It also gives you dry flaky earwax too. I've never had BO in my life. I can sweat and be unshowered and have no smell. It's like a superpower. I am fortunate to be counted in that too. It takes 3 days before my inner circle can notice, and oh dear. Don't ask about the circumstances of going 3 days without a shower. I met someone like this. I genuinely didn't believe him at first, but it was true. The man could work out for an hour and his armpits would have no odor. It was really weird. Isn't it kinda weird we hate our own smell? Like, just some few hundred years ago everyone everywhere had a musk. It's people smell. Did everyone just walk around repulsed? I'm married to one. They can work a 10-hour day and go to the gym and come home sweaty, still smelling like the soap, shampoo, and perfume from the morning. It's amazing. Yeah, never really had a problem with body odor. Though I think that percent is higher within the entire population. That article only looks into British people though. I don't use deodorant. Haven't since I was a teenager and I'm not 40. I ask people if I smell and they tell me no, so I assume I'm not the stinky guy, but who knows. The smell of my BO only came into effect in my mid-30s, before that, it took a lot to stink and need deodorant. Now it just smells. Flora and fauna must be off. What about having a desirable scent? Like the skit from Kids in the Hall. I feel like that sometimes. I'm skeptical of human pheromones, but damn, people go nuts.